So you may have come to the place in your study and practice where you are ready to learn how to create a thought form. Not just charge a talisman or call a spirit. You could have something like a genie of your own, like I Dream of Genie or Aladdin's lamp. I've always wanted a genie in a lamp. And I've worked with many spirits over the years, but today we're going to talk about creating an entity for yourself that you can assign a task and give it a house, like having your very own genie in a bottle. Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Casting Cauldron. Welcome back. And if you are new here, my name is Sabrina, and I am a shamanic witch. What I want to talk to you today about is something that is really relating to intermediate to advanced magic. This has to do with creating thought forms. So if you are a newbie, a beginner, this is not something that you would want to start creating right now. It's definitely something that you can start looking forward to in your study and your practice. You need to get all of the basic foundations down first. You need to be learning what it means to slowly choose your tools, charge them, work at your sacred space, learn how to cast spells, learn about herbs, oils, gods, goddesses, all of the basic foundations, including the god and the goddess that we represent on our altar. They are within us, and this is a powerful combination of energies that assist us in our magical workings. So, now, I have been reviewing things. I think we're still in Mercury retrograde, which always helps me go back and fine-tune things. I've actually reviewed back in my memory some things that I did in the very early years after my shamanic dream journey in 2003, after all of my working with my spirit guide and remembering things and being led to books. The third book that I bought, I believe, was To Ride a Silver Broomstick. And so I became acquainted with Silver Raven Wolf and her writings, and I didn't agree with everything, but I did like almost everything, and it spoke to me. It really spoke to me in the beginning when I sat down at Barnes & Noble and opened that book and saw what is in a name, because I had chosen to take the name of my spirit guide and I did a self-initiation. You do not have to dedicate yourself to this path, but you do need to have a basic understanding of nature-based religion, what our philosophy is, what our beliefs are, why we connect to nature, the seasons, and all of it really. And what does it mean to raise energy and release it? If you have not gotten to that point yet, I would say you probably need to study and practice for a year and be absolutely certain that you've realized thoughts are things, and they do come first. Emotions are closely tied and they happen almost instantaneously, but it is the thought that comes first. So I had been remembering some things that I had done, and after summoning a familiar and accidentally summoning a fairy It's taken me many, many years, really, to figure out what happened or why it happened after what I had done. The fourth thing that I did was actually create a very, very strong thought form. And then I had added another thing to it, which made it even more powerful. The results were nothing short of amazing, and they were a little bit frightening for a few minutes. But it turned out to be a blessing to everyone who lived on the block. And I will probably tell that story on another video, maybe. I am going to be making videos that are courses on specific subjects, and I'm going back to a website I have played with in the past, and I'm seeing where I can go on there and create a link to a video I create on a lesson of a very detailed subject that would really be more for intermediate to advanced. I've shared things on YouTube, but a lot of things really I've had to kind of stick with beginner things, I think. The series on my altar and how to pick the tools and charge the tools and what they mean and all that. You need to have a ritual record sheet. You need to have started your Book of Shadows. And I think it's helpful to really know all those things. Now the second book I got is To Light a Sacred Flame. Hold on, let me go get it. Okay. So this is about the fourth or fifth book that I got, and this is the second book in her series, which really is intermediate subject matter, and there's quite a lot in here. So when you go to page 131, I believe it is, you will get chapter 5, which is linking spells and fascinations. And then a little further on, she talks about creating something called an elemental. So this is really the first thing that you would want to create in generating a thought form. And there's quite a lot of information here that she gives, very, very, very detailed instructions, and I read them, and then I decided to do it, and then I followed every single detail. I created an elemental of the air, and of course I had I had been working at my altar for several years, doing multiple kinds of spells to bring prosperity to the family, to the household. So here we have, you see the little wings? Those are wings, guys. I visualized a body and a head. And I created an elemental. Now what happened, again, was another aha moment. Was nothing short of amazing for me. It seems I had called a nature spirit instead of creating an elemental. So I had a jewelry box on the east side of my altar, and I stated that it would enter and return from the east. I believe I gave it a name, but I believe it was a timed elemental as I go into the book here and read my notes. That was probably back in 2004. I cannot find the journal or anything in my ritual record binder yet. I do have a story called My Tinkerbell because as I was driving the van with the kids into Kmart, into the parking lot, from the east came this winged creature and grabbed onto the antenna. and I was just in shock. I stopped and I stared. It wanted me to see it. And I just said to my kids, do you see that? What? That. You know, it's hanging onto the antenna. What is it? I don't know. It looks like a little human. This was utterly amazing, guys. It had little feet, ballerina feet, you know, pointing, and they were together. The legs were together. This was not a dragonfly. Long, spindly arms, hands with little fingers holding onto the antenna, a head, heart-shaped face, big eyes. And it was hanging on that antenna for me. I don't know if my kids remember it. I'll never forget it. And it flew away. Now, I had requested that this being bring me information that would help me and my family prosper. Some things take many years, guys, especially if you're on a path like me, where you have to go through a lot of things and learn a lot of things before you can actually teach them, you know, or sell services to people. So after that, probably 2006 maybe, I don't know, maybe 7, I had created another thought form because I was upset. As I recall, I was very upset and I was frightened and I was angry. I believe at that time we had received notification that our mobile home park had been sold by the owners and they were going to go retire in Palm Springs, which is the city that I left to come out to South Dakota. And they were going there to retire. And it was by a billionaire who, you know, people that I knew in the park were saying they're going to flatten it, they're going to build apartment buildings, and we might just get a letter that says you have to move in 30 days. So, yeah, I'm an intense person, and I decided I was going to harness that energy and I was going to be outside several times a day focusing on breaking apart this negativity and protecting me and my neighbors from losing our homes because we couldn't afford to move it. So I had envisioned these giant pair of hands up at the 3/4 up of the tree that was in the yard, not too far from where I would sit. I'd sit on the patio, I'd look at the sunset, I would draw energy from the earth and focus on stopping this man and releasing negativity and bringing us good luck. So, yeah, it finally did happen that I got information from a neighbor who had gone to a mobile home park half a mile away, right next to the elementary school that my children were enrolled in, and they were offering an incentive that they weren't advertising for anyone who qualified to move in there. You would get $1,200 to pay the mobile home moving company to move you. So we went over there and we applied, and it worked out great because I was tired of dealing with traffic to try to get my kids to school. So I picked a lot that had a bunch of trees, and it was half a block from the school, and I would walk my kids to school and walk them back. And it was a very, very, it was just less stressful for me. So now that is probably going to be included in my detailed video on what are thought forms and how to create a servitor. But this has got to be for people that have already been studying and practicing, because some people think it's okay to release the servitor and let it have a life of its own. And these are people that don't have enough study and information that you cannot do that. A servitor doesn't have a will of its own. You're not going to give it a will of its own. you're creating a little mini program, really, like a virtual pet on your computer. It's a part of you that you're going to be creating and energizing and charging and giving it a task. Unless you're creating, I think, a tulpa or an egregore that is going to have a consciousness of its own, then, you know, and that's something I don't think that I've even mastered yet, but I definitely created a truly incredible, powerful thought form. Now, when I began to realize that this is something that I've already done, I was watching another magical practitioner. And so I had taken, about 6 months ago, my notebook with it's a sketch pad, and I started making notes on how to create a servitor. Now, in the beginning, it would be especially good to just work to create a thought form that's either going to help you with a specific task or maybe help your son or your daughter at school. Let's say, for example, they're being picked on and they need to be encouraged by this energy, this servitor, to stand up for themselves, to speak up, and, you know, maybe say, leave me alone, or go tell someone, because it's not going to stop. These are some very positive things that you can do for someone else. And this is going to probably reinforce your idea that magic is more than you probably thought it was. It's not just calling on these already created pagan gods and goddesses or daemon spirits to assist you. There may not be a spirit that has just the specific thing that you want to help you. In the beginning, your servitor may not be really very powerful. It may not be felt right away by you or the other person. It could take a couple of weeks to a couple of months for it to really start working. But it depends. It depends on how much you have really been studying and practicing your craft. So I have a testimony. I made a video about a testimony I received from someone who had used black salt. One of my highest viewed videos that received a lot of views within a few months, about 1,000 views, is on how to make black salt. And this is just one of the things that we learned to do. And I was fascinated and made a lot of magical powders. I think it's a prerequisite, really, to creating a thought form. Now, in her book, she has it after creating a timed elemental, but I really feel that when you are learning to make powders and you've charged them at your altar and you put them in your hand and you speak to them your intention of what you want to do, and then you throw that at, say, your neighbor's door, like this viewer did, every single day, that is an introduction to creating a thought form. It's temporary, and that person was throwing it every day because you're putting it in your hand and you're speaking now a specific intention, and then you throw it. So it's charge and release. You've given it a task. At that point, after you have results and success, and hopefully you've written it down, you are ready, because you know thoughts are things, to go on and create a little servitor. Okay, now, with that being said, There's a lot of detailed steps to it, which I'm going to save for the instructional video, which I will create, and then I will post it here and make a link to that video, because I'm at the point where I'm, ready to start creating things and start supplementing my income with it. Here, I have created a space for a servitor that I created about 6 months ago. Naughty me did not create a record. This is like having your own little genie in a bottle, but it's an aspect of you, and I have been extremely lost and helpless, not knowing what is going on with my daughter. There's been a couple occasions where I've been able to encourage my mind to dream about what's going on with her. When she was almost homeless, I dreamed about where she was going to be finding a place and getting some furniture. I told her, I'm not sure exactly where, but I do see you moving furniture in. And I gave her some suggestions as to, go back to the college Facebook page and see if there's some, college house somewhere where somebody's moving out. And she did. So, let me see if I can move this here. Now, I have a candle off to the side here burning. It's not for the servitor. I've already created it. Going back in my notes, I see that I had done all the steps, and I'd even told it that when it's done with the task, come back and let me know you're here by letting me smell roses. And so for the past week or so, I've been smelling roses at night. Last night I smelled roses again on my left side, starting to fall asleep. And there was absolutely no reason for me to be smelling the smell of strong roses. So I began thinking about the servitor again. And I thought, well, I might have actually completed that and believed wholeheartedly that it was going to go to my daughter and do what I asked it to do, to give her comfort, to give her warmth, and to give her energy, because she suffers from exhaustion. Now, I've shared in the past that many days I will take some money powder and I will sprinkle it on the pictures of my children, who are grown now and they are working. But I had not given this servitor a house. It could be that it was telling me, hey, I'm back. I need a house. So similar to the little fairy house that my daughter and I had made and put in our yard, I need to create a place in order to keep this spirit. So this is similar to spirit keeping. At the moment, I couldn't think of anything. So I came over here and I took one of these glasses and I rewrote and went over all the notes of the steps that I had done and the sigil. And it's really just an orb of energy, guys. Pink with gold. And I call her Sparkle. See the gold glitter? It's just a shape. It's just a round shape. And I'm going to glue this onto the glass until I can find something else that I like better. And then we will move house. So I did burn this candle here, which I'll insert a clip of how rapid it was really moving, because I'd spent some time going over the notes and the steps required and the name I had chosen, and decided to use the bell And I have this card here with a note my daughter wrote me, and she works with flowers and the money powder. The bell will be used to call the servitor back. I've decided it's going to go and gently attach itself to my daughter's left side for about a week, and return if and when my daughter is fully regenerated, or I will call the servitor back every single Monday to rest and rejuvenate. And each time I will ring the bell and call it back. And so I'm going to call the name 3 times and then tell it to come home. In the same similar fashion, I spoke 3 times and knocked on the glass, "Go to my daughter." I'd also burned sandalwood yesterday, which attracts good spirits, while I was reactivating or giving Sparkle her house. I took an amethyst and then I sprinkled some of my personal collection powder here called Psychic Awareness Powder, which is also good for dream work. And I sprinkled that and put that in there. When I felt it was time, I did not breathe on it this time. I don't know if I did when I first created it or not. I lit the candle, and I feel like the candle is really creating that psychic energy and giving it to the entity that I'm creating. And as it was bouncing, I put out the sandalwood stick, let the candle continue to burn, and I guess it was about 45 minutes from beginning to end. I asked it to go. I made the sigil, cut it out on a little circle, gave an offering, burned it to activate it, put the ashes outside like I normally do with my little rites, my little spells to spirit and my offering. That's something I had not done before, but I felt I really need to reactivate this and just keep working with it. This morning, I just can tell, I can feel Sparkle is not here. Sparkle has gone. Now, I also requested that it communicate with me if necessary, or just form a stronger telepathic link between me and my daughter. You will communicate with me telepathically. You look like this, you smell like this. Your incense is, I can't remember, yesterday it was sandalwood. Your oil is lavender. Your color is pink. You will appear to me as a pinkish, yellowish orb. And sometimes I see colored orbs in front of me, and I might have seen it, and I've forgotten about Sparkle. Now, I had attempted to make a servitor for me that would help me with my energy, but I didn't really spend enough time working on it, and so it hasn't been effective. But I think this one, I actually had much more detail about this entity. And so it actually, I think, has been with my daughter for several months. And in fact, might have helped my telepathic connection when I did my working with Astarte, and she encouraged me to have a telepathic dream to influence my daughter. We can all benefit from creating a stronger connection while we are away. A lot of us are separated. We have to work in different parts of the country. We don't necessarily live in the same city anymore for one reason or another. But we need to be able to have this link so that we might know in advance something we need to know. Communicate to me, I wrote in here, what is necessary, and that I can somehow be of assistance, or maybe even fly out there if necessary. I don't know. But yeah, when you are cut off from someone who's just not communicating because they're far away and they're busy, or they just feel like they can't really share with you, or you might be telling them or suggesting things to them that they don't want to hear. They're too stubborn right now. They just want to learn on their own. Then there's really nothing else that you can do except learn to employ your mind in this way. So that is it for now, other than keeping a detailed description and a ritual record of the day that you created. I did create the Servitor on a Friday, I believe. And I think it was the hour of the sun, according to my notes. So, yeah, I mean, if there's any doubt, Sunday is just a really wonderful day to work with for any type of physical matter, physical healing, giving someone energy, helping them recover from surgery, helping them see things, realize things. And then the phase of the moon would generally want to be waning would be for healing, or the full moon. Waxing moon for sending information, sending love, having this entity implant feelings of love, self-love. And I instructed it to give my daughter warmth from head to toe whenever she was feeling weak and drained, and rejuvenate her mind and body so that she can get through her days. So now Sparkle has a house, and I will be making another sigil to put on the little house here, along with the symbol of what she looks like. So I hope you are as excited about this particular subject as I am. Go and watch videos and read as much as you can about creating thought forms, elementals, and servitors. And I will see you very soon. So long.